Seeing Dustin defeat Lance made him believe he could do the same. He could do better, and the thought boosted his confidence. Who are you? As Lance stood up, he stared at Dustin with fear-filled eyes. He never thought he'd lose to someone his own age. The defeat was so crushing that he couldn't fight back. Who I am is none of your business. Now call your leader over here, Dustin replied calmly. Kid, take back your arrogance. Lance's expression darkened. You may be strong, but you're not qualified to challenge my leader. Challenge? No, you've got it wrong. I'm here to teach him, Dustin replied. His words took everyone by surprise. Unbelievable! How dare you? At this, the Soul Reaper's disciples angrily scolded Dustin. They were seething with anger and ready to take action. They were aware that they couldn't take on Dustin, but they believed they could win by joining forces. You're really fearless, kid. So disrespectful to our leader like that? You're just asking for trouble. Lance was furious. Strength is important, but don't be reckless. Sir Thorn, the leader of the Soul Reapers, is renowned in the martial arts world. You're out of his league, Josie warned. She acknowledged Dustin's strength but found his words and actions excessively arrogant. Even if he defeated Lance, Dustin's desire to challenge Graham was an overestimation of his abilities. Mr. Reese, let it be. Don't let things escalate, Lynn whispered. Grandmasters were akin to gods to ordinary martial artists. The level seemed approachable, but it was unattainable. So, a fight against a higher-ranked opponent inevitably meant defeat. I repeat myself. Bring Graham Thorne here. I intend to settle an old score with him today, Dustin declared coldly. Who has the gall to call my name so brazenly? At that moment, a powerful and commanding voice rang out. Although the voice wasn't particularly loud, a commanding presence in the room silenced the noisy crowd. The stout old man with the white beard entered, radiating authority. He wore a black robe and had a gruff appearance with piercing eyes. As he walked, his robe fluttered in the wind. Although he wasn't particularly strong, he exuded a profound sense of grace. Without doing anything, all eyes were on him. It was Graham, the leader of the Soul Reapers. Sir Thorn is finally here. Something big is about to happen. The kid dares to challenge Sir Thorn. There's going to be trouble. Why be so foolish? Why provoke a grandmother? Let's see how he handles it now. Words can really lead to trouble. People whispered, pointing their fingers. Some even had pity in their eyes. They thought Dustin had taken it too far when he challenged Graham. It's over now. Lynn trembled. Wow, this guy is playing with fire. Why mess with a grandmother? That's like asking for trouble. I hope we don't get dragged into this, Toddy exclaimed in panic. Even if he had confidence, he wouldn't dare to appear arrogant in the presence of a grandmother. Ah, a genius of our generation might meet his end today. Josie sighed regretfully. If Graham hadn't shown up, Dustin might have had a chance to get away unharmed. Now, that chance was gone. Master Thorn, you're finally here. Lance rushed over. What happened? How did you get injured? Graham eyed Lance and frowned. Master Thorn, some troublemaker had provoked the Soul Reapers. He attacked me and disrespected you. He had gone too far. Lance complained. Graham's expression turned serious as he asked, who dares challenge me? Master Thorn, look, that's him. Lance exclaimed angrily, pointing at Dustin. This young man has no respect for anyone, including you. He's incredibly arrogant. Oh, just as Graham was about to assert his authority, he suddenly froze. It's you. Seeing Dustin's face, Graham broke out in a cold sweat. He felt a strong sense of danger, for the memory of the Black Forest was still fresh in his mind. Dustin's last attack had been devastating. He had severed Theodore's hand, blinded Orson, and left him badly wounded. He hadn't fully recovered, and the thought of facing Dustin again filled him with dread. Graham, so we meet again, Dustin said, staring at Graham coldly. Since Ronald isn't here yet, let's settle our old and new conflicts now. Hearing this, Graham ran off in fear, leaving the surprised crowd behind him. As the crowd watched Graham hastily retreat, they were all confused. Their eyes widened in disbelief, and they wondered what had happened. Graham, the respected grandmother and leader of the Soul Reapers, had actually been scared away? What had become of his authority and dignity? Lance hesitated before asking, Master Thorn, where are you going? I have urgent business at home. I'll be back soon, Graham's trembling voice came from a distance, and he quickly left. Graham's earlier injuries from the Black Forest had not recovered. Now that he was facing Dustin again, he realized running away was the best thing to do. If he ran into Dustin again, it could cost him his life. Making a wise decision meant preserving his life, even if it required swallowing some pride. Lance was speechless for a moment. Since joining the guild, he had never seen his mentor appear so shaken. He wondered what could have terrified Graham to this extent. What's going on? Why did Sir Thorn run away? I don't know. Maybe there's a family emergency. Could it be that? Sir Thorn was frightened. Watching Graham's hasty departure, everyone exchanged surprised glances. No one had expected this. When Graham arrived, he gave the impression of being unbeatable. And so, Dustin's defeat seemed certain. Unexpectedly, Graham fled without looking back. It left everyone astonished. That old fox runs pretty fast. Dustin frowned. Graham's unexpected flight surprised him. Normally, there would be a fight in the ring to determine the victor. But now, the revered leader of the Soul Reapers, a grandmother who had made his mark on the world, didn't have the courage to accept the challenge. Instead, he chose to run away. Was this cowardice or adaptability? Why, what's happening? Josie was shocked by the sudden turn of events. Graham surpassed her leader in strength and could even match with the Boulderthorn leader. It was astonishing that he would flee without resisting. Graham's change in demeanor when he saw Dustin was disturbing. She wondered if Graham was afraid of Dustin, which seemed likely. This raised questions about Dustin's identity. Why was Graham intimidated despite his martial arts experience? That was a cause for concern. Are we saved? Lynn and the others were left dumbfounded. She had no idea what had just happened. Still, Graham's departure had spared them from a crisis. Mr. Harrison, they're right here. My men spotted them coming in. This announcement caused a stir as a group from the Martial Arts Alliance enforcement team stormed into the arena. At the forefront was a stern figure in black clothing. He was an Alliance supervisor. Next to him was the enforcement team captain, who had been injured earlier by Dustin. Oh no, the enforcement team is here. Lynn's expression changed as she quickly stood in front of Dustin. Mr. Reese, they're looking for you. You should leave now. I'll distract them, she said, wanting to repay Dustin for saving her life earlier. Lynn, why are you worried about him? Many Alliance members are on their way. Let's hide and avoid the situation, Toddy suggested. He had the confidence, but not enough to take on the entire Alliance. Mr. Reese, please leave. If you don't, it will be too late. Lynn became concerned as Dustin refused to leave. I'm not afraid of Graham, so why should I fear these guys? Dustin smiled and shook his head. He pulled Lynn along behind him. But Mr. Reese, Lynn was about to persuade him again. When the Alliance enforcement team arrived, which one of you attacked our enforcement team? Step forward and apologize, the supervisor demanded. Confidently, the captain immediately recognized Dustin in the crowd. He pointed at him and said, Mr. Harrison, that's the kid. He's the one who attacked me. He's challenging the authority of the Martial Arts Alliance. Oh, so, you're the one who... The supervisor was about to say something when he suddenly turned pale and began to tremble uncontrollably. Kid, how dare you attack me? Your time has come, the captain sneered. He treated Dustin as if he was doomed. Rhea Reese, the supervisor, who had seen Dustin before, continued to tremble and sweat profusely. As an Alliance supervisor, of course, he knew who Dustin was. He had handled Ray's lifeless body, which Dustin had slain just the day before. He knew that this infamous figure dared to kill even Ronald's nephew. If Dustin lost his temper, the Alliance would be massacred. The captain insisted, Mr. Harrison, don't bother defending me. Arrest this brat immediately and subject him to a rigorous interrogation to preserve the dignity of the Alliance. Arrest him? No way. The supervisor was shocked and slapped the captain twice. Ah, the captain was bewildered. Mr. Harrison, why did you slap me? The supervisor snapped. You blind fool. This man is none other than the renowned Balerno's grandmother Reese. Slapping you is too lenient. Furious, he slapped him again. Then, he dropped his weapon and rushed toward Dustin. He showed his respect, and his voice trembled as he spoke. Greetings, Grandmother Reese. I'm Wayne Harrison, a supervisor of the Martial Arts Alliance. Reese. Grandmother Reese? The captain was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe Dustin was the young grandmother. Silence descended on the entire place, leaving everyone in awe. Dustin. Grandmother Reese? Is he the renowned young grandmother in Balerno? Oh my goodness! Did I hear that right? The kid is a grandmother martial artist? No wonder he's so powerful and extraordinary. Even Sir Thorn fled in fear. I've heard of the young grandmother before, but I never expected him to be so handsome. No wonder so many female martial artists admire him. After a brief silence, the whole crowd erupted in excitement. No one anticipated Dustin's impressive background. Many believed he was a disciple from a small guild with above-average abilities. But now, it was clear that this seemingly ordinary young man was actually the young grandmother. Dustin's outstanding performance at the Knighthood Society tournament, his victory over Augustus at Shinefield Lake, and the events in the Black Forest have solidified his legendary status in the martial world. In addition, Dustin challenged the leader of the Martial Arts Alliance. Each of these events had a profound impact. He outshone his peers, and even veteran grandmasters were eclipsed by his reputation. Seeing this living legend in person put everyone in awe. Is he really a young grandmother? Lance was so startled that his body shook uncontrollably. He couldn't believe the person he had challenged was the legendary genius behind these extraordinary events. Dustin had defeated him with only one finger, and his leader had suddenly fled. Everything finally began to make sense. Lance hadn't been there in the Black Forest, but he had heard rumors. Dustin had single-handedly injured 3 grandmasters. He also brought the other martial artists to their knees. It had hit Graham hard psychologically. No wonder he had been so scared earlier. Anyone facing such a formidable opponent was anything but. No wonder he looks familiar. He's the person I've been looking for. Josie felt a tinge of excitement, and her cheeks turned rosy as she admired Dustin. She had seen Dustin from a distance at the Shinefield Lake grandmother battle. However, she couldn't make out his features. Up close, she discovered he was even more attractive than she had imagined. She wondered if this meeting with Dustin was fate. Mr. Reese. He's a grandmother. Lynn was shocked as she stared at Dustin's tall figure. She never would have guessed that Dustin was the renowned young grandmother challenging the Alliance leader. After all, he seemed friendly and ordinary. She found the situation increasingly surreal. Toddy stood nearby, unable to hide his nervousness. He felt a shiver down his spine as he faced Dustin. Boasting earlier was one thing, but now he was filled with awe and fear, especially after his disrespectful remark. Grandmother Reese, we admit our mistake and apologize for it. Wayne bowed deeply while sweating profusely. Dustin had come to challenge the Alliance leader today, but they had to be respectful. Grandmother martial artists could easily take a life. So, if Dustin became displeased and acted on it, no one would dare to intervene. Why are you just standing there? Apologize to Grandmother Reese right now. Seeing that Dustin didn't respond, Wayne glared at the captain and urged him to apologize. The captain immediately snapped out of his stupor. He quickly went forward and cowered. He showed his respect, and his voice trembled as he said, Grandmother Reese, I take full responsibility. Please forgive me. Suddenly, a thunderous cry rang out. What in the world are you doing? Quincy and a group of top Martial Arts Alliance members entered the arena. When he saw the captain and Wayne in such an embarrassing position, his expression darkened. You are a disgrace. Your actions have brought shame to our alliance. Quincy stormed toward the two and slapped them. The two severely beaten people, feeling unjustly treated, hesitated to retaliate. They wondered if asking a grandmother for mercy had been a mistake, or if they should just accept their fate. Mr. Reeds, this is Grandmother Reese, the one who has challenged Sir Reeds, Wayne said nervously. He hoped Quincy would forgive him. Quincy angrily exclaimed, You still dare to speak? He continued to slap Wayne. He added, Anyone who challenges our alliance leader is considered an enemy. Showing respect to such an enemy is an act of cowardice. Wayne's face grew somber, but he refrained from speaking. He silently lamented, Fuck you. It's easy for you to say, but would you dare mess with a grandmother? You'd regret it even more. Quincy vented his anger and then glared hatefully at Dustin. Are you Dustin Reese? Yes, Dustin nodded. And who are you? Quincy's words carried anger and a subtle threat. I'm Quincy Reeds, the elder of the Martial Arts Alliance. You committed an unforgivable crime last night by killing my son. And now, you challenge our alliance leader, disobeying the law.